The chambers of the Galactic Council had witnessed countless wars, alliances, betrayals, and reconciliations over 10,000 cycles. But never had it seen what was happening today on the central platform. Beneath towering crystalline pillars and swirling holographic banners, Representative Voshkar of the Eldari Dominion slammed his claws against the marble table. They refused. His voice shook with disbelief. The humans refused to negotiate again. A wave of murmurs rippled through ambassadors of 67 species. Panic fluttered like trapped birds in their chests. For centuries, negotiations were everything. War was rare and surrender even rarer. But refusing to negotiate? That was unheard of. Only one species did such things. Humans. 1. The outpost that started it all 2 weeks earlier. The Eldari fleet had seized an abandoned mining outpost along the fringe of neutral space only to discover it wasn't abandoned. It belonged to Earth's frontier cores. And inside it were only 2 humans, James Halley, an engineer with a reputation for impossible repairs, and Rose Carter, a xenolinguist whose patience was legendary even when dealing with species that communicated through explosive pheromones. The Eldari expected them to panic, expected them to run or surrender. Instead, James had simply said, "Give us back our outpost." No threats, no shouting. Just a calm, dangerous certainty. The Eldari refused, and that's when the message arrived. A simple, 3-word transmission from Earth's High Command. Do not negotiate. 2. Council in chaos now. Under the vast dome ceiling of the council chambers, the ambassadors argued in frantic bursts. They conquered half a quadrant in a single generation, shrieked the gelatinous Oermol envoy. They terraform worlds just to see if they can. Another shouted, "They study black holes the way our children study finger painting." Representative Voshkar hissed, "If they refuse negotiation, it means they are preparing for war. And if humans prepare for war, then the rest of us prepare for extinction," whispered a diplomat from the brittle-boned Valkara. Yet, amidst the panic, one voice broke through. "The humans sent 2 people," said Elder Sarira of the Seraphine. Her wings flickered with silver light. 2, and yet the universe trembles. Why? Because James and Rose were not alone anymore the moment Earth sent the order not to negotiate. Every human colony, ship, and frontier station went silent. Not out of fear but unity, humans didn't refuse negotiations unless they believed something precious was at stake. And across the galaxy, the one rule every species learned through hard, painful experience was, humans protect what is theirs. 3. Rose and James hold the line back on the seized outpost. Rose paced behind makeshift barricades as James tightened the final bolts on a cylindrical fusion conduit. "You know," she said, "we could have left. Just flown home. Avoided all this." James shook his head. "They took human territory. The Council knows the rules. You don't take what's ours and expect us to smile politely." Rose exhaled. She wasn't afraid. She'd seen humans do far more reckless things for far smaller reasons. But she was tired. "They think refusing negotiation means we want war," she murmured. James smirked. "No, it means we don't need to talk for them to understand." Above them, stars trembled as the outpost powered up. It wasn't a weapon, not exactly. It was a beacon. A call. A reminder. Human engineering didn't bluff. Point 4. The human fleet arrives at the Galactic. Council received the alert moments before the warp shock hit their sensors. A fleet no. An armada exited hyperspace near the outpost, but they didn't fire. Didn't threaten. Didn't broadcast demands. They simply arranged themselves in a defensive ring around Rose and James's outpost. The humans weren't attacking, they were protecting. It sent the galaxy into further panic. 5. Council realization. Back in the council, Elder Sarira stepped forward. "You all misunderstand humanity," she said. "They don't refuse negotiation because they seek destruction. They refuse because negotiation is meaningless when the principle has already been violated." Representative Voshkar snarled, "Principle? We claimed a station." "You trespassed," she corrected softly. "On human soil." Every ambassador shivered. Humans weren't conquerors by nature, but they were Stubborn, protective, united in the most terrifying ways, Sarira continued. Humans negotiate everything from trade disputes to parking fines. But if they say do not negotiate, her wings dimmed. It means you have crossed the one line they won't tolerate. A hush washed over the chamber. They will die for each other, Sarira whispered. Do you not understand? Those two on that station, Rose and James, are not soldiers. Not diplomats. Just ordinary humans. She paused. If the galaxy threatens even ordinary humans, Earth will respond with extraordinary force. 6. The message a new transmission echoed through the council chamber. It was. Rose calm, steady, professional. This outpost is human territory. Return it, and the matter ends peacefully. Keep it, and Earth will assume you deliberately endangered 2 of its citizens. Then James leaned into frame, and trust me, you really don't want Earth thinking you endangered its people. The chamber fell silent. No threats. No ultimatums. Just the simple, terrifying confidence of a species that didn't bluff. 7. The collapse of resistance. The first to break was the Oormal. We surrender the claim, their envoy bubbled. Return the station immediately. Then the Velkara folded. Then the Rutan finally even. The Eldari Dominion. Not because Rose and James frightened them, but because humanity standing behind Rose and James did the aftermath when the Eldari ships retreated and the outpost was safely back under human control. James finally let out the breath he'd been holding. Well, he said, wiping sweat from his brow, guess they made the right choice. Rose smiled softly. We didn't win because of threats. James nodded. We won because Earth refused to abandon 2 ordinary humans. She stepped beside him, watching the human fleet shimmer like a wall of stars. Humans are terrifying, she said quietly. James grinned. Only when we need to be. 9. Why the galaxy panicked. Later, in private council records, Elder Sarira summarized the entire crisis with a single line. The galaxy did not fear humanity's weapons today. It feared humanity's loyalty. And that, in the end, was the truth. When humans refused negotiation, the galaxy panicked because it knew what humanity was capable of doing for its own. Rose and James returned home as quiet heroes, but across the stars, the message was remembered: never threaten what humans will protect. Not unless you are prepared for what comes after.